on the computer. Okay, I nailed that. So again, welcome everyone tonight to the virtual business after hours. As everyone is just popping on, asking everyone to just add into the chat your contact information. We will save the chat and share that out with everyone after we have the YouTube video. You should just know that if you're familiar with uploading to YouTube, it isn't a kind system. And so I think as someone explained it to me, the less frequently you upload, the lower priority you get. So there's a few steps. So that's unfortunately what takes us a little bit. That's why there's a little bit of a lag sometimes, 24, 48 hours to get that link out to you. It's not that we've forgotten, it's that we have to convert the file, upload it to YouTube, and then they have to be kind to us and actually let us publish it and share it. So that does take a little bit of time. So just to be respectful of everyone's time, I guess I'll get started. I know you're sick of hearing my voice already. So welcome. My name is Lisa Dooley. I am the president of the SSWBN. Again, so happy to see everyone here tonight. Hope everyone made out well in that storm and everybody stayed safe. We're so excited tonight to have one of our members, Dr. Bonnie Wims, here to talk to us. And again, I'd like everybody in just a few minutes to kind of go around the room and tell us about yourself. So I would ask you also, as you give us your 30-second of who you are, tell us what you're always hearing in your own head. What are you always saying to yourself? Yeah, so I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. Like, what is it when you're talking to yourself? And I will tell you, my mother used to always talk to herself, and I thought, what is up with that woman? And now I do that. And I said, Mom, I get it. I totally get it. But we all have a story in our heads, right? And so what's the story you're telling yourself? What's the phrase you keep hearing over and over? I'd love to hear that as we go around the room. I'd love to tell you about some great upcoming events. We have an in-person focused coffee at Cravings Cafe on the 18th. Please go to the website and sign up. These are very small groups. We're keeping it small for obvious reasons. This winter, we are staying, we're doing this hybrid with the virtual and the small in-person for obvious reasons. We are very excited for the spring. We can, spread out a little bit more and do more in-person events. So there's a focused coffee at Cravings Cafe on the 18th. There is a Cravings lunch on the 11th, I think is what my note says, of March. And please just go to the website. I don't believe the March one is up on the website yet, but it will be. But please make a note in your calendars. Our quarterly breakfast will be Thursday, March 24th. And we're going to have our very own Laura Bradeen. I do not see Laura here, but she's going to help us with some ideas on not just tax planning, but tax planning for retirement, which is a pretty critical thing. So we're excited to hear from Laura on that. If you haven't seen my post or video on social media, if you weren't sick of me yet, we have a real push here at the network to really help our members and the folks within our network. Really, we're calling it Magnify Your Voice. So we have always offered this to our membership, which is tell us what you are working on, right? Tell us that you have an upcoming event. Share your flyer. Richard, I know you're working on your flyer for me. Other people have sent me notifications on their upcoming events. We want to be able to share these on our website. We're excited. I see Sandy popping on. We also offer this to our charities. Tell us what you're working on. We want to be able to share that out on our social media. That's, again, one of our great member benefits. And we now have the ability, thanks to some technological advice, that we can co-host member events. It's your event, but by co-hosting it on Facebook, we are able to share that event, and we are able to go ahead and share that to a wider platform. Okay, I need you to hold on just a sec. So speak amongst yourselves. I have some technical difficulties.
She's gonna go slap somebody, I think.
She's gonna put on her boxing gloves.
Yes, really, this is an absolutely wonderful opportunity. Co-hosting events like this is going to be just such a great opportunity for all our members to really, have that outreach, that spread. it can only do good things for us to share, that the South Shore Women's Business Network exists with all of these, people who are going to these events. So it's a win-win situation, really.
Can you explain that a little bit when you say co-hosting? I know what a co-host is here, but what does it mean outside of this group? I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we at the network, let's say a member is has created a Facebook event, right? And you're the host.
Right.
If you can send us a request to co-host that event. And if we accept it, then it will show up not only in your list of events, Jojo, but it will show up in our list of events.
Right.
We at the network do not create our events in Facebook. We create them on our website, right? That's how we manage registration, because there's Zoom links and all those other things. But we have been asked, how can the network help promote what our members are doing? So we're calling this, again, our initiative is Amplify Your Voice. And so one of the ways that we can do this is to co-host the events. And basically it just brings it to a wider set of eyes, right? It's just broadening the platform and putting more eyes onto which is absolutely your event. We don't do anything with it. We don't literally, except for co-host it. So that's kind of how it works.
Is this a women's group? Because I see men popping on. Unless they've had a sex change. I don't know.
No, it's me sharing
This is the South Shore Women's Business Network, but we have always been lucky to have male members, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
The network was created, just a little history. We were created back in 1991 when there weren't any networking groups for women. So one of the things that the founders of the network did was create an organization. Do we need to update our name, Jojo? Yes, we do. Do we need to, figure out how we move forward? But we have always had men. We have actually had men on the board, and I have always had male members. So yes, we do not exclude by any means.
Because I love men, but I'm just curious because we are called the South Shore Women's Business Network. So,
well, Jojo, that's really good because on my screen you are right next to Richard.
Hey, Richard, how you doing?
Life is good. Life is good. I'm so excited about tonight's presentation.
I'm excited as well. But yes, so that's a great question.
That voice, if I can get one tip on how to make it shut up, I'm telling you, that would be the best ever.
All right, well, good. I'm so glad everyone's here. As everyone continues to pop on, again, I would just ask folks to pop into the chat and share your contact information with everyone so that when we save the chat, we'll have all that information available. So let's get started because I'm so excited to see everyone. So what we're going to do is I'm going to call on you where I see you in my Brady Bunch screen. And I'm going to pop. And so just give me give us the 15 seconds on who you are, what you do. And what's the sentence or the story that runs through your head all the time. I'm going to go to my left. Pam, welcome.
Hi. My 15-second is that I'm a former, and Richard, I'm no longer going to use the word retired because you pointed that out. I agree with you. I'm a former financial advisor, financial planner and financial advisor, investment manager, and I retired, I became unemployed voluntarily last December, and I'm really enjoying it. However, I am still available to answer any of your questions. If you have, I'm not practicing, so I can't do any business with you, but if you have any questions that you don't know where to ask, by all means, call me. I'm more than willing to give unsolicited advice. The thing that runs through my head every once in a while is, you shithead. And that's when I mess up or I do something stupid and it's just, I beat myself up.
Yeah, that's a good one, Pam. So Pam is also a former board member and has done so much for the network. And thank you for saying that, because I think that sort of you know, I'm an idiot, there's something wrong with me is a pretty common refrain. So thank you for putting that out there. And I'm so glad you're here. Mary Ford, welcome.
We go. Well, hello, everybody. I am a former newspaper editor, transitioned to author and editing service provider. I live in Situate, Massachusetts, where my parents moved here in 1954, but it's a long, long story. I met my husband in California and we were away for 16, 17 years and then back here in 87. And I've written a book and I'm excited about it still, and I'm trying to figure out how to relaunch it. It's will be out a year at the end of February. And the sentence that goes around in my head isn't quite as bad as Pam's, but it was, will you get your act together?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mary. I think you have your act together. I think you're amazing. Mary is also a board member and she does our amazing newsletter. So if you would like to be featured in our newsletter, if you would like to you know, share, make a contribution, Mary is always looking for great content. So please, again, email us at info@sswbn.org and we'll forward that on to Mary. Jojo.
Okay, so I'm Jojo. I am a video content creator and I help you to create the perfect pitch. And I have my modality where I write it, I film it, I coach you, we edit it, and then I help you to distribute it on up to 22 platforms using a whole marketing strategy. And what's the thing that goes around in my head? Well, Katie Kearney is going to agree with this. And I'm going to say, I can't believe I said that. Because sometimes I speak before I think, and that's it. But it's usually done not with ill intent. It's usually when I say things, it's kind of like people go, oh my God, but it's not, it's never malicious. Anyway, that's what I have.
Thank you. That's a good one. Richard, Katie, why don't you go next? Katie Kearney, so nice to see you.
Oh my God, I hate this stuff. My name is Katie Kearney and I live in Plymouth, Mass. And I am what you call a professional volunteer. I seem to have my hands in everything within this town. I'm on a board of directors for the hospital and I fundraise for the hospital. And I was fortunate to stay home with my children. And then when my kids got big enough, I went to work doing home care. And so I help seniors to be able to stay at home. But unfortunately, I have a back issue, so that's holding me back from doing that. But I am in the process of starting a nonprofit. And I've had a nonprofit in the past, but this one is actually, there's so many kids in this town that have just suffered from the pandemic, like many other towns, in the fact that parents can't clothe these kids. And so I actually have a committee, had a big meeting today. We're all excited to get going and we're doing a big clothing drive to create a teen closet so that kids in the middle school to high school ages, because everyone wants to help the little ones, that we're going to create. We're going to have a big drive and we're going to create, we're partnering with the fire stations, we're partnering with all kinds of businesses. So that's going to be up and coming for me probably in April. So, and I'm wrapping a nonprofit around it so that we can continue with it. So I'm so eager. I went to the conference, last fall, met wonderful people. So it's funny now as you guys are all talking, because I was in one of your conferences, we did the financial, and I met Lisa, and I'm just so happy and honored to be part of this group.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And my thought of the day is, my thought probably is to stop procrastinating and get off my ass and get things done. So.
Nice. I like it. And Katie, make sure, of course, when your flyer is ready, that you share that with us so we can allow everybody to take part in that. So thank you. Richard, welcome.
Thank you. Very excited to be here tonight. I have a service that is an alternative to hiring a general contractor by placing the homeowner in control of the construction. In March, beginning on March the 6th, I'm doing an adult education seminar at Tufts Library in Weymouth. It's called Planning Your Remodeling Project. It's all from a consumer's point of view, and it's the kind of information you will not get on any do-it-yourself channel or This Old House or anywhere else. It's really the the inside of how the building and remodeling industry operate. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Excellent. Do you have a thought to share? What's always going through your head?
Oh, what's it all about?
I think there's been a lot of that over the last, I don't know, 2 years. So that's a good one. Thank you. Thank you, Alana.
Richard, what is the date for that?
It starts on the 6th of March, and it's a 6-week course. And I'm trying to get the word out that it's available. So, and it's free. It doesn't cost a dime.
Yeah, you picked a great venue. It's a beautiful library.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. And
Yeah.
so we're going to get the updated flyer on our website
Yeah,
shortly.
thank you so much.
Of course, of course. Alana, welcome.
Hi, my name is Alana Thompson. I'm a real estate agent now with Keller Williams Realty, based out of Plymouth, Massachusetts. And I've been with Keller Williams for a couple of weeks now. I was with another brokerage. So I'm really excited to be part of a big brokerage, be able to help my clients across the country because we have agents in every state. So I can refer people out there, help them relocate if they need it. And the thing that goes through my head is I can't do all this.
That's a good one. Yeah. And I think well, I'm sure Bonnie's going to talk about that, but I don't think there's anyone here, especially all small business, anybody, anyone in the business running their own business that doesn't feel like I'm never going to get to that to-do list. So that's a good one, Alana. Thank you. Katie Starr, welcome.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? I almost said good morning. Oh my gosh, because normally we do this in the morning. I'm Katie Starr. I'm a real estate agent with Jack Conway Real Estate, also in Plymouth. And congratulations on your move, Alana. And, you know, I do everything that real estate agents do right now, a lot of which is consultation and kind of almost therapy sessions. You know, if you're in the real estate market right now as a buyer, you need therapy. And if you're in the real estate, market as a seller, it is actually not quite as easy as you think. You know, there's still a lot of stuff going on and a lot of moving parts, and I like to just, you know, make sure that I help guide people through that process as easily as possible and as smoothly as possible. And I don't really have a phrase or a saying, but you know, the demon that I fight on a pretty I don't know, daily, weekly basis is trying to keep up and meaning keep up with other people in my industry. So Facebook, you know, and everything we see on Facebook and everything that's always, you know, out there and somebody's doing this and somebody's doing that. I actually started to give myself permission to unfollow people, and because it wasn't making me feel any better. And, you know, I can't keep up with everybody, and I can't, and I don't want to, you know, so, I'm looking forward to some other tips and tricks tonight to help with that demon that I fight, you know, the keeping up with the Joneses, even though I really don't want to keep up with the Joneses, but, some of the stuff that we see every day kind of makes us feel like that anyway.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's true, Katie. And I know there's a lot of research that shows social media does not make us happier. And I think that Dr. Bonnie, I'm not stepping on your toes. You're all in. Okay, Eileen, welcome.
Hi. Hi, I'm Eileen Borders. I'm the owner of On Time Bookkeeping, which is a virtual bookkeeping firm here in Abington. I work with small businesses all over the place because everything I do is online and virtual. Right now is usually a good time when a lot of small business owners discover that oh, my books are kind of messy and it's tax time. So, you know, now's a good time to reach out to your financial professionals and get some help and ask for their assistance. So I'm doing a bit of that right now, and also finding a lot of new owners who need a new system because they haven't had one. They don't like the one they have. They know that they need to do better. So I also help with setting you up on new accounting systems as well. I'm certified in QuickBooks Online. I also use Wave and a little experience with Xero, which is another product out there. So that's what I do. I don't know, voices in my head. I have a lot of voices in my head some days. They usually pop out when I'm stressed out and I start to talk to myself actually out loud instead of just in my head regurgitating the same conversations over and over. I don't really have like a specific thing. It's normally just kind of conversations that I feel like I should have had with somebody, or I did have, and it was a disturbing conversation. So I kind of relive it over and over again. But yeah, that's, I don't know how to characterize that, but.
No, normal, and that's what we all do. Yeah. I wish I'd said this, and I wish I'd said that, right? Sort of
Right.
reliving that moment. I could give a shout out to everybody on this panel. Really, I've worked with a lot of the professionals here, but Eileen was super helpful. I work with another nonprofit, and she was able to help. We got a new QuickBooks account, and the charities. I'm making a note to myself because I have to write things down. There is a group that provides free and nearly free software to charities. And I'm going to send you the link to that because I know how expensive QuickBooks Online is, and it's literally $75 a year. Katie Carney and Julie and Sandy, you're on my list. And I will send that link to you because it's huge and it's a big lifesaver. But Eileen helped me set it up and it was life-saving. So enough. Eileen, you're awesome. Okay, Kristin Mano, welcome.
Hello, I'm Kristin Mano. I design both corporate and your home, any kind of design or architecture project that you need. For me, the voice in my head, I'm very technical, and so everything for me is about making sure that everything is just so. So the voice in my head has a tendency to say that nothing is good enough and nothing I do is good enough, because everything for me is my job is striving to make sure everything is just right. And I struggle constantly with, well, if it's not just right, then, you know, that doesn't mean that it's a reflection on me.
Yeah, that's a really great awareness. So, and I think all of us, any of us who suffer from perfectionism, myself, it's when is good enough, right? And I hear that, but again, as you say, especially with your business and with what you do in the technical perspective. Lori, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Medeiros, and I'm with Fairway Mortgage. I'm a licensed loan officer in Mass and Rhode Island. So I'm here to help anyone who is buying or refinancing. I love to work with first-time home buyers, second-time home buyers, but I do especially love to educate new realtors on the mortgage process and new buyers. That's really my favorite thing. My voice in my head is similar. I never feel like I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in a day, and everything I do, when they say you can do it all, it's really not true. And you can, but all of it is not good. So the voice in my head is to focus on something and be really good at it instead of trying to do everything and sucking at it. So that's my voice.
Thank you. Thank you. And Lori is a new board member. She is our new member, our director of membership. So thank you again for what you're doing. Marcy, welcome.
The first time I've remembered to unmute myself. So I'm Marcy Desmond, and I am a health and wellness coach, and I help women, primarily women, break free from emotional eating and yo-yo dieting. And the voice in my head, I'm with Krista. I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I learned how important it was to work on that when I started my own business. So I am learning to take imperfect action, but the voice in my head is, oh my God, that's not going to work, or oh my God, that's not good enough, or oh my God, what did you just do? All of that.
Yeah. Thank you. And Marcy was also kind enough to speak with us at our quarterly breakfast last year. So please go back and watch the video. She gave us all great tips. And thank you again, Marcy, for sharing that. Julie Brennan, welcome.
Hey there. Excuse me. Hi, everyone. So I'm Julie Brennan. I'm the founding director of We Do Care. We Do Care is based in Easton. I'm actually a Brockton girl. I'm from Brockton. If you haven't heard of We Do Care, we help women that were widowed at a very young age, typically around between early 30s to about 55. We definitely have people younger and we have people older as well. And we also, 80% of our members that we serve are actually kids. So it's kids that have lost a father. We do have a couple of families that lost their mom, but it's predominantly children that lost their dad. And we're just excited to be a part of this. So thank you for inviting us.
Well, thank you for being here. We Do Care is our second quarter charity. You'll be learning more about them, and please watch our Facebook page. They have a big gala coming up in March, right, Julie and Sandy, right? So we're going to be sharing information about them as well, and we're so excited that you're here. We so value what you're doing. Well, let Sandy go next. Sandy, nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see everybody. I'm Sandy De Silva. Julie's little sidekick, I guess, whatever you call it. I'm one of the widows that I'll say this. We Do Care has changed my life like 360. Where I was from when my husband passed away to where I am today is a huge difference. So there's a lot of things that are probably running through my head. You know how we're talking about, so there was a bunch of voices, but I would probably say right now from where I am, like I need to stop procrastinating. Like, why just do it and just get it done? Because then when I end up doing it, it was I'm like, that was so easy. Why didn't you just do it? So it's, you know, I have like two sides of my brain talking to each other. Just do it. Wait, just do it. So maybe there's Nike up there. I don't know.
So thank you for sharing that. And Sandy and Julie, we're so glad that you guys are here and we can support. And you're right. I think, you know, it's the fear of the unknown, right? We always think something is going to take longer than it is, or it's harder than it is. And I think that's a really good one. And I saw Dr. Bonnie shaking her head. So I'm guessing we're going to hear about that later. So thank you for sharing that. Deb, welcome. Nope. Still mute.
Okay. I was told you could hit the space bar. It doesn't work, by the way. And I'm just laughing with the timing because I'm cooking dinner and my one hand is full of meat. So I can't let that go anywhere. Anyway, Deb Gaither, owner and creative director of Message Artist Creative Group. We are a branding, content strategy and creation company. And I'm also on the board of the SSWBN and happy to do so and be here. Just one thing running through our head. That's hilarious. So I think a lot of what's been said already, there's, you know, certainly the perfectionism is always there. I, you know, pride myself on really good quality stuff, but I definitely push myself way beyond what's probably realistic. But I think the thing that, you know, I've been working on it and trying to stop that little hamster wheel of a voice, and the thing that does sneak through every once in a while, it's I think it was Katie who was saying it, the comparison, right? Comparing other marketing agencies, other marketers, what they're doing, how far they are. They look like they're doing better than I am, and I should be doing better than I, you know, oh, I'm not making it up crazy. So I think that's probably the thing that's easiest to sneak through these days.
Yeah, thank you, Deb. I think that's one a lot of us are struggling with. So thank you for sharing that. Lynn, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Lynn Feingold, virtual assistant. It's good to see so many people here tonight. I'm happy to say that I'm the new vice president of the South Shore Women's Business Network. I'm very excited.
Oh, congratulations.
On the board, and we're going to have some fun. That's all I can say. So you know what I do? I provide part-time administrative assistance work for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small businesses. I help people change how they're looking at their business sometimes, and that's kind of fun too. So anyway, my little voice in my head doesn't have a lot of negativity to it. So I just used, I've got a couple of phrases for you. When something goes particularly wrong, I am liable to kind of shout, scream, somebody save me, I can't save myself. and sometimes in a funny accent. So it's one of those things. It's a stress reliever. It's like a recognition that, yeah, okay, I'm screwing up. What can you do? Not much about it. But yesterday was the first anniversary of my business, and I posted, "You never know till you try," and that was a quote from my father, who enjoyed a long career. He started as the sandwich boy who would pick up sandwiches and ended up running the drafting department at Pneumatic Scale in Quincy. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Real
thank
rags
you.
to riches kind of story.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Lynn
Thank
has
you.
been, talk about someone who has saw it and built it and is off the charts. I mean, this woman could literally have a business just teaching people how to be a virtual assistant. And if you have not worked with Lynn, I know some people on the board, on the call tonight have. She's phenomenal, and we are so thrilled that she's taken on the VP role at the board, because we're so appreciative to have her. Shawnee, welcome. Nice to see you.
You too. Thank you. Shawnee Minsky. I'm a newer member in Pembroke, Massachusetts. I'm a director of account management at UKG, and we really focus on managed services for HR, payroll, benefits, tax, and garnishments. And I wouldn't say it's been a little voice in my head recently, but definitely have imposter syndrome. So it's always, it's not good enough, or I really can't hear that feedback from other people. Even just getting recently promoted, it's sort of like, did I really deserve that? So definitely trying to battle that and work through that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think, especially as, no offense to our gentlemen, as women, imposter syndrome is something that a lot of us have struggled with at some point. So thank you for sharing that. Kristen, are you there? All right. I'll come back to Kristen. Sheila, nice to see you.
Sorry,
Oh, Kristen,
I'm here.
no. Hi,
Hi,
Kristen.
took me a while to unmute. Hi.
How are you?
Hi, good, how are you? Hi, everyone, I'm Kristen. I'm based in North Weymouth. I'm an interior designer, primarily residential, some smaller scale commercial projects, and a lot of like what other people have said, just the imposter syndrome and just critical self-talk. So glad to be here tonight. Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here, Kristen. Thank you for sharing that. Sheila, how are you? Nice to see you.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Excited to be here tonight and learn how to deal with the internal thoughts. So I'm from Barbara Home Inspections. My husband and I just love making people's dream homes. When you're looking for that home that I guess really there aren't sellers right now, but there are few and far between homes on the market. But when they find it, we just love to make their dream home a dream home, just going in and making sure, that the house is fit for them in the best way possible. And if not, there's way to fix it. And we just love the connections we've made within the network. And we're just looking for more. So happy to have We Do Care. I am the charity coordinator on the board for South Weymouth, yeah, for the the network here. I get the initials. And yeah, so great to see everyone. I do dry nail polish too. We have some beautiful reds in, super easy. Valentine's Day is coming up. If you love purple, just everything French manicure. I have support here for that too. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sheila. Sheila's done an amazing job. So if you have a charity that you are involved in or would like us to support, again, please send us an email at info@SSWBN. So again, you're sick of me, but Lisa Dooley, when I'm not doing this, I'm actually a professional organizer. And what I always say is, my goal is to help my clients find more space, more time, and more joy in their lives, because that's really what it's about. It's not boxes and bins. It's really about living the life you want to live with a lot less physical, psychological, and emotional clutter. And like a lot of people have said here already, and I'll really sort of echo what Shawnee just said, is I'm not enough. That's what's always going through my head. I'm not smart enough. I'm not working hard enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not helping enough. And that's, I don't know if it's the damn Yankee in me or something. So I would love to hear from Dr. Bonnie about how I can do a little better than that. So before I turn it over to Dr. Bonnie, One of my notes is we're going to take a group photo, right? We're going to share this out. So I am, for right now, I'm going to close out no, I'm afraid to close the checks. I don't want it to go away. So I would ask everyone to look at their camera, and I'm going to count down to 3, and I'm going to take a picture, and 1, 2, 3. Everybody's looking at the camera. Okay, and let's hope that I did that right. Deb was nice enough to walk me through this yet again. She's done it about 10 times, and she was nice enough to do it again. And I'm going to paste it. Oh, you're gorgeous. Okay, folks. Now, all right. I'm going to turn it. I'm so excited, Dr. Bonnie. We're so excited that you're here tonight. So take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you all for sharing your demons. I definitely recognize a few of them for myself. So we're all in good company here tonight. Before I start, Lisa, will I be able to share my screen in a little bit?
I am going to. Can you see me squinting? Multiple? Yes. I'm pretty sure I just gave you permission.
You did. You did. I'm not going to share it at this second, but yes,
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So yeah, Lisa mentioned, I already kind of introduced myself. I am a virtual counseling psychologist. I have been a psychologist for many years, but I became a virtual therapist before COVID, surprisingly. I moved back from London, England in 2013, and a few clients from London asked to stay on with me, which was very gratifying. And so we fumbled through some Skype and FaceTime-y kind of things back then. I cringe if I saw how we behaved. I think I've gotten a lot better, but I love the fact that I could continue to work with people who were across the pond. And the idea sort of started percolating about the convenience and the flexibility of that. And I found that not only was it more convenient for people, but also that people seemed also to be more comfortable. They were sitting on their own sofas, they were in their own homes, oftentimes feeling much less stressed. They didn't have a commute to my office or having to leave work early on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So I love it. I absolutely love working this way. And it's coincidentally been a perfect COVID business model. So so I have met this beautiful group of people when I lived in Boston. I happened upon the group. Don't live anywhere near any of you. I don't know why I ended up with you all that night, but it was a great night. I'd never felt so welcomed and so incredibly supported. It was an in-person event probably 3-4 years ago, I think, Lisa, maybe. Anyway, you know, we all dabble in different networking groups and they all have varying levels of support. And this group is run so well and it's so supportive that I live in Manhattan now and I'm still a part of you. Lisa and group have been very kind to allow me to continue to pop in virtually. So hopefully that will continue for some time, not COVID, but just virtual. So yeah, so that's my story. I'm here and I wanted to talk to you today about loving your demons. So I guess we'll get started. This is the part I always hate.
This is where I have to be sure I close out my Amazon cart so nobody has to look at all the stuff that I've got.
That's exactly what I was just doing.
Always.
There's always something there that you're like, okay, yeah. People don't need to see that part. Is this good, everybody?
Perfect.
Great. Okay, so if you would indulge me just for a minute, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. And this is a story from my own life, a chapter I wrote for a book. I wrote a chapter in a book last year, And the book is called Called to Lead. And it's 18 women were asked to participate and write a chapter. We were all asked to participate with the same format. So they were short chapters, but we were asked to pick a topic that we felt we were a leader in. And another talk, another day, will be about my adventure on and my internal dialogue about myself in a leadership role. But that's another day, another talk. But I picked Called to Lead Mental Wellness. And I wrote a chapter trying to talk about the importance of mental wellness. And I call it wellness because I think it should be thought more of sort of like an everyday sort of wellness thing, that we're all trying to work on our mental health and not worry about the illness part of it so much. So this is the opening part of that chapter. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to read a little bit of it. When I was 6 years old, I woke up to the sound of my father slamming the door as he left the house in a rage. Although this wasn't a habit of mine, I found myself climbing out of bed and walking up the 2 flights of stairs from my basement bedroom I shared with 2 of my 4 sisters. Typically, when all the shouting and beating started, I would do all I could to hide and be small. As the 7th of 8th children, I was usually successful in just blending into the background until I felt safe enough to disappear to my bedroom or some other place far from the most recent terror. But this night was different. For some reason, I found myself heading toward the violent scene's aftermath. I found myself wanting to see my mother. "Let's leave," I said softly as I walked into the kitchen. She didn't initially look up. She sat at the kitchen table, holding her face in her hands, silently crying. "Please," I said again. Eventually, she brought her hands down to reveal tearful, sad, and pain-filled eyes. She looked at me with the contrasting sweetness and more than a little condescension. "We can't," she said simply, as if the subject was already closed. I rushed to her, climbed on the chair next to her, and touched her arm urgently. "Why not?" I pleaded, feeling my own tears in the back of my throat. Even before she answered, I knew we wouldn't be going anywhere. I saw the slumped, defeated shoulders and the vacant look of someone who had already given up years before I had come into this world. The option, the choice of a different life was nowhere in her thoughts. But what I didn't understand then as a 6-year-old, and perhaps I continue to work on today as a psychologist, was the depth of the emotional prison my mother was already in. Even if we had plenty of money, which we didn't, and if we had somewhere else to go, which didn't exist, my mother was not entertaining the choice of leaving her abusive and alcoholic husband. If she had ever given that thought serious consideration, that moment had passed long ago. She was sunk so deep into the life that was not her own. The possibility of another was not even in her sights, and most especially not going to be encouraged by a naive and earnest 6-year-old girl. Without being aware of it, her denial of my plea to leave this abusive life, to choose a different path, set my own trajectory on one of self-discovery, but also one of laser-focused commitment to understand the importance of mental wellness and my own responsibility in helping others grapple with whatever challenges their ability to achieve a fulfilled life. I spoke to my mother later in life, long after my father had died, about how she felt about her choices and how she understood her role in our traumatic childhood of violence and fear. Her perspective was heavy with guilt, defensiveness, and excuses. She spoke of doing the best she could given the circumstances. She spoke of loving this man in spite of his cruel and tormented soul. She remained committed to the idea that she had no choice but to fold herself into his life, his expectations, and his pain. She wore this idea of no choice like a badge of honor, and with this award of self-sacrifice, she could rationalize keeping her 8 children captive too. But the one thing I don't think she ever realized is that she was not alone, and that we were all there to share the burden, if even just for a little while, to support her in possibly a different choice. In Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl says, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." So that was the opening part of the chapter when I went on to talk about the importance of mental wellness, obviously, and the soapbox that I get on when I fight the internal process of, when I watch clients fight this internal process of the stigma around therapy and the stigma around working on ourselves and our mental wellness. So tonight I wanted to read that first because it illustrates really well my own beginnings in life and my own traumatic childhood that was abusive. It felt at times like an emotional prison. It was isolating, it was painful. And unlike this beautiful little girl that's in this picture, who is my granddaughter, and only upset because she wanted to keep her tutu on to go to bed, she hasn't experienced that, thank goodness. And you can see in her at the age of 2, a very different way of being because of her own different life, even at this young age. She's loved, she's supported, and she's very well adjusted at this point in her life. So today's presentation is called Love Your Demon. And we all just talked about voices and demons and things that are in our heads. But a demon for our purposes is defined by something that causes a person to have a lot of trouble or unhappiness. And if you just say that, it's something we want to avoid, right? So no wonder we all try to just push that voice away. We don't want to get to know that. We don't want to hear it. So we just try to ignore it. Demons usually start out with pretty negative self-talk, judging ourselves. We're saying things. I've written down a lot of what you guys all said, starting with Pam's beautiful "you shithead." That's classic demon, right? So the voice is in there. It's giving you all of this trouble. And we have to do something. We feel moved to do something. We either shove it away and try to avoid it. Some people work harder every time they hear the voice. That's where maybe some perfectionism comes in, or excessiveness, feeling a lot of pressure because of the voice. Ever any of you make a situation bigger than it should be because of the stress of that voice? So those are the kind of things that end up happening when we sort of have that voice in our head, but we're doing our best to sort of either push it away or appease it. But the demon's never satisfied. You guys know that. A lot of you said these things as if you know them really well. They've been in your head for some time. And it's just this unending cycle. So why on earth would you love this demon? Well, because the demon is a voice we've created. You've created yours, I've created mine, from what life has taught us. So what happened to us over a course of our lives has created this internal belief system that can be traced back to trauma, in my case, life challenges, or frankly, just everyday life. Life can be hard. We learn things, we understand things, and we create these demons as a result. So we know avoidance of the thing we don't like about ourselves doesn't work, right? So what can we do about the nagging internal voice that can impact our day-to-day choices and our behaviors? Well, I was going to introduce you to my demon. So this is Enid, and I gave her a first name because after she's inhabited my brain for 59 years, I figured we were on a first name basis. So Enid's kind of funny. She loves to encourage me to say yes to things. When there was an invitation to do presentations for this, my hand shot up. Yes, yes, love to do it. That's Enid saying, do it. Yes, you can do it. And it isn't until a little bit later that the self-doubt starts to come in, and fear, frankly, about my ability to even speak. So she fills me with this initial optimism, kind of sets me up with confidence, even says, you can do it. You know you can do it. In the early stages, the closer the situation comes, or the opportunity, then she's sneaky and she kind of lies in wait, starts whispering little things about, if I really think I know what I'm doing, will anybody attend anyway? What will you say? What will you wear? Will anybody listen? This all starts coming in, and trust me, it's been coming in all day. So this sense of initial sort of energy to do something. Then as I settle into it, hearing that voice that consistently tells me that maybe, or not even maybe, that this isn't going to be good. You're not going to be able to do this. You're not even good at this sort of thing, really. So she knows me really well, Enid, because she's me. And left unchecked, she knows exactly the thing. She knows exactly that trigger point she hit me with, and then fills it with this relentless negative self-talk, and then eventually impacts my behavior. So you probably already know the end of that story. I didn't do it tonight because I couldn't face any of you tomorrow if I did it, but I've been known to cancel. I've been known to not go to something. I give excuses. I'm sick. I forgot. And then Enid comes back in and she soothes me in quotes, by saying things like, you know, they don't really even like you there anyway. Who cares? You're happier at home. This is where you belong. No one will miss you. And I just tell you a little side story. When I was working on this slide the other night, because I did this presentation for a different networking group a couple of weeks ago, and my husband was out of town. He was in Chicago with my son because my son is moving there. And we have a mutual friend that lives there that they all got together and had dinner together. And my husband left, my son left, and our friend, unprovoked, texted me as I was working on this slide with 3 little words. He just texted, "You were missed." So we'll put a pin in that little text for a little bit later. So the thing about demons is there's a flip side or an underbelly or inside out, however you want to think about it, but there's an angel there. Because at the end of the day, this is you. You're not a devil. You're not a demon. And so the aspect of what this voice is talking to you about has an underbelly. It has a root, and it has something that you can use that's actually really beneficial if you get to know it, even love it. So I know my beginning chapter was kind of heavy, and I'm sorry about that. But the exciting element about this, and I think the reason I wanted to share that, is the exciting element about research now is that shows our brain is incredibly elastic, right? You probably heard of this. Super exciting in the research world to understand that not only are we greatly impacted by our early childhood and our young life, but we continue to be impacted every day, all the time. So our brain is capable of changing forever. It doesn't just, happen when you're 16 or 22 or so. The elasticity of the brain allows us to work on these messages and to really change them, to use them for the good. Sometimes it may take some good therapy, or maybe just some real self-awareness work, but you can change your thoughts and therefore your behavior. So although I despise the voice that tells me I'm not worth it or that no one will notice me if I'm gone, this is the very part of myself that I despise, that I have to make friends with, because I have to understand this part of me. I have to be conscious of that negative thought pattern so that I can begin to gain power over them. But do remember, even as we get to know and love these demons and show them compassion, it doesn't mean we have to agree with them. So what would be the angelic side of Enid? If you look back on some of the things that I had put next to here: doubt, fear, defensiveness, sensitivity, helplessness, negative talk, habitual, hypervigilant. The word sensitive has been used against me my entire life. I can't remember the first time I was told I was too sensitive. It's been lobbed at me as an insult for a long, long time. But it's funny when you turn that upside down and you sort of look at what sensitivity really means. And I use it to look at my life, at other people. Sensitivity actually becomes my superpower. My superpower as a therapist is that I'm sensitive and empathetic and thoughtful, and that I'm a good listener. These are superpowers. Now, sometimes they can create awarenesses that upset me. Sometimes I have to really work on that. But that's about managing the demon to get to the angelic side. So I have to dig a little bit sometimes to get to these angel parts, but sensitivity is definitely one of them. Watchfulness, I think, you know, doesn't take a therapist to know that if you've been in a difficult home, that you're going to grow up being more watchful because you had to. So my watchfulness, my hyper awareness is actually also a really beneficial tool in being a therapist. I feel people's moods. I see their lip twitch and I know that something's happening. I can understand how things can be difficult for people. And also I can sit and listen and validate experiences because I've had my own and I can show compassion for years. Also, I'm hoping to model some self-acceptance and some compassion. So if you put it simply, I wouldn't be here without my experiences, all of them. I wouldn't be this person. So I can be grateful for all of my experiences. So Harvard did a study a few years ago that showed that 47% of people, 40% of us are distracted during our waking hours. So in your day, nearly half of your day, you are distracted. And this was kind of shocking research because half of your waking day, you're thinking about something else. You're not aware of your surroundings. You're not aware of what you're doing. We call it autopilot. So you might be thinking, well, so what? You know, sometimes I daydream or sometimes I am distracted. What's the big deal? But the thing that is linked to this autopilot distraction is what we were just talking about as far as your messaging that your brain gives you. If we aren't noticing what we're thinking, if we're not aware of how we're feeling, then our brain says, oh, okay, I'm going to go into autopilot. I got all kind of files back here to pull out and give you some messaging. And guess where they go? Mine goes to Enid and says, what do you want to tell her? So the old habitual pattern thinking and behaving comes out because we're not conscious in our bodies. We're distracted thinking about God knows what. So you have to intentionally notice your thought patterns and behaviors, or your mind just takes over. And I'll tell you, my brain, there's a free-for-all in there sometimes. So I would like you all to just think about a distracted time you had this last week. I'm sure you had one because according to the research, we have them every single day. And jot it down in the chat and give me an idea of where were you, what were you doing, and how long were you distracted? And while you're putting those in the chat, I'll give you mine. So my dangerous time is when I'm doing mundane tasks, things that I've done a million times before. So, you know, dishes, taking a shower, laundry, making dinner, anything that I've done before and it just doesn't really require much consciousness on my part. So they're repetitive, maybe even boring sometimes. So my mind wanders and I can literally have no memory of the task or myself afterward. So it's a freaky thing. When I don't drive anymore because I'm here in Manhattan, but I used to drive quite a long distance from Watertown to Lynn in traffic. And I can't tell you how many times, no memory of the drive. And we're talking stop and go traffic. Not probably the safest thing to do. So can I look at a few of these? Driving, yep. In a meeting, lost interest. I used to do that in church when I was little. Yeah, driving. Working on one task and realizing it leads to another and another and another. Yeah, so see, it's just really easy. And if you thought about it much more, I'm sure you'd come up with lots of examples where it's just so easy to let the mind wander and do whatever it wants. So I'm saying, what if we use some of that distracted time just carved out a little bit of it, because I know some of you are going to say, if I tell you we need to work on training our brain, that you'll say you don't have time. So I'm telling you, what if we took just a bit of this time that we're distracted, daydreaming, and I could use some of that to get to know Enid and really understand where some of the shame, guilt, and fear comes from that she produces, because she is me. So in training your brain, we have to kind of start with sharpening our focus, managing our distractions, because if we just let ourselves be, especially nowadays, we can be distracted so easily and really never complete anything. So I just wanted to run through these 10 kind of quick. We're okay on time. Check in on yourself. And that's sort of what we've already started talking about. So distractions can be internal as well as external for this young girl. So start by looking within and see what's going on. Are you feeling a little off, feeling a little anxious? You're not quite feeling your job as much as you used to. Something just doesn't feel quite right. What's going on? Check in with yourself. Try to find the cause. Once you have looked at things, look around. Are you doing something you don't like to do? Is your home office a mess? Is your home office not really an office? Do you have an intrusive coworker, like my loud husband in the other room? Are there problems with skill sets? Do you need some help? Are you feeling burnt out? What's going on? Because you can't fix anything until you understand it. And then prepare and plan. We all heard this all the time. Any leadership seminar you go on, they talk about planning, making lists, making sure you understand where your tasks are going. When I started working on this presentation, I had sort of an idea, but I needed to bring in information and provide the backup for it. It felt a little overwhelming, if I'm honest, and Enid was right there telling me to. But I broke it down into small tasks, and I didn't do them all in one day, and I kept going back to it and building on it and building on it. So there's a saying that every 10 minutes you spend on planning saves an hour in execution. Go offline. This is a big one for all of us, I'm sure. We got a phone, computer, we've got distractions. So there's a great author I know, Jonathan Franzen. He goes to a hotel room, has the television and the phone taken out of the room, and brings in a computer that's been stripped of any sort of internet connection. He basically has a wood processor, a desk in a room all by himself. And that's how he has to write, because he knows he gets distracted. He fixes the problem that way. Giving yourself a break. Lots and lots of excellent research that shows when we're caught in some sort of loop of negative thinking or fight or flight or anything like that, getting up, taking a quick walk, getting a drink of water, it doesn't have to be that long, it's seconds. But you break that connection and your brain can stop worrying and go back to being creative. But as long as you're stuck in fight or flight, worried about something, stuck in that hamster wheel of negative messaging, you can't think creatively. So you need to break that cycle by walking away, getting a drink of water, taking a walk, maybe taking a longer walk, whatever you can do to kind of break away from the situation briefly. Tuning it out. Some people use some things to tune out other things. Like I know a lot of people that really like music on in the background, or they like to surround themselves at their desk with certain things that mean a lot to them, that they can look at and grounds them and reminds them of who they are. Breaking it down. When distractions are getting really high, make things smaller. I think it just happens automatically. When I started working on this, when it was just an idea, nothing, it felt so large that I just kept getting distracted with other things because it just felt large. When I was in school to become a psychologist, at the end of the third year, we had finished our academic portion of the schooling, and we're going to then go on to writing our thesis and some other tasks. And a classmate of mine just decided to come in the last day of class with a full list of all of the assignments and things that we had completed over the 3 years. And the list went on and on and on. Presentations and reports and individual therapy and classroom assignments. And it was intense, hard, wonderful work. But it was just lists and lists. We'd done that over 3 years. And I remember looking at that list and thinking, if somebody had shown me that list and said, you have to do this to become a psychologist, I don't know that I would have. It looked like too much, but it got broken down over a 3-year period. I kind of talked about changing your office space, but this clean it up. Just, you know, some people like disorganized desks. That makes them feel good. Some people don't. Make your environment work for you, whatever works for you. Setting a deadline, you know, I've been told numerous times, you know, sign up to say you're going to present something before you're ready, because trust me, you'll get ready. So setting a deadline, offering yourself up to something so you've got a deadline that's going to push you. Become an early bird. Now, this is something I'm not sure is really for me. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Miracle Morning. I have a couple friends doing it. One friend's getting up before 5 a.m. every day. But there's something about getting an early start to the day. I don't think this works for everyone, because I honestly think I'm more late start to the day kind of gal. But if that works for you, once again, do the things that work for you, that help you focus and help you get things done. The distractions that surround us aren't going to go anywhere. So we have to learn how to overcome and adapt to them. So when you're thinking about your own distractions and you're thinking about the way in which your mind wanders, think about what of these 10 helpful tips might help you, or if you have other ones that you've used. So this is kind of the doing portion. Now there's the training your brain part. And this can be hard for people, especially if you haven't spent any time really thinking about the way your brain works. Even saying, what is that voice that's talking to me? For some people, they haven't really thought about it much. So this first step here is awareness. We have to become aware of the unhelpful things we say to ourselves. Not to put you on the spot, Pam, but I would imagine you shithead has the desired effect on you, and that is not to make you feel good. You know, we look at most of these messages that we get, they aren't encouraging. They aren't motivating. A lot of them are fear-based. A lot of them are quite negative. They're unhelpful. So we have to change the narrative. We have to change the story that we tell ourselves. As in my case, I believe some of the story happens for me in my early childhood. So my sense of no one missing me or not being enough, I think it comes from that. And it's, you know, it's tough. I think, unfortunately, I'm going to struggle with that probably my whole life. But there are lots of days where I'm on top of it now because I'm very aware. I recognize it when it starts to come in. And I also recognize when it comes in. I am particularly vulnerable when I'm tired, when I've had some conflict, when I'm sad or angry, or just feeling out of sorts. So I don't feel strong. I don't feel that I can take it on. I kind of just lay down and let the messages overwhelm me. So with my story, I have to carry this trauma from my childhood, but it's up to me to approach that trauma with self-compassion and understanding, most importantly, not to judge my behavior as a result. Because just like my beautiful picture of my beautiful little granddaughter there, she's 2 years old. And you know, no baby's born insecure, no baby doubts themselves, no baby's defensive or full of shame. My granddaughter's favorite activity right now is to eat a big giant bowl of mashed potatoes, pull up her shirt and show us all her belly. And she wants us to rub her belly, she wants us to poke her belly, and she laughs and she has the best time. It's her favorite game. Needless to say, I would say most likely there's nobody here that would still do that. We get filled with shame, we become self-conscious, we begin to notice what others think of us. There are quite a few here too about comparison, trying to keep up. Toddlers don't do that. We have insecurities, doubt, maybe even shame because of what has happened to us. Sometimes it takes more than changing our inner dialogue to understand how what happened to us has impacted how we feel about ourselves. So sometimes it does take some deeper work to really understand and connect those two things and say, so that was the messaging I got. I learned that messaging very well, and now I'm living it. So that you've got to get there, understand that to then start changing it. So when Enid reacts and tells me I'm not worth it, I'm really conjuring up old memories that I've stored from previous experiences. And then my brain just helps out by bringing in more negative messages as proof. If I go autopilot, then forget it. File cabinet opens, the trauma comes out, and all kinds of negativity just floods me. I can feel overwhelmed, I can feel sad, and I don't feel strong. So this deeper awareness that I now have of understanding how these embedded experiences in my mind impact my sense of self are the way that I now begin to understand how to change that narrative. I know where this messaging has come from, and I know that it isn't really me. I know this messaging came from what happened to me. So once we have a clear understanding of the root of these beliefs, we become more active in disagreeing with them. When I tell myself I can cancel because no one will miss me, I can conjure up that text from my friend. He did miss me, and he told me so. You got to poke holes in these negative statements, round up your friends to help you. I don't know Pam really well, but I don't think she's a shithead. Round up your friends, round up your own knowledge, gain your own self-awareness to understand that this behavior as a result of these negative messages can be changed. And just to lighten the mood, I saw this cartoon the other day on in the New York Magazine. The groundhog saw no shadow, only his demons. And then the end of the presentation, just because we can't have light without dark, think about naming your demon. You can literally name them like Enid or not, and see if you can turn it on its head and find the root and then the angel that's within. And that's the end.
Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Bonnie. That was amazing. I wrote down so many notes, and I also, I'm going to ask Dr. Bonnie if you can share with us those two lists about I wrote them all down. I took some pictures of them, and I'd love to share those back out with everyone because I know everybody was probably taking notes. But a couple things that I'm just going to say that really jumped out at me is, number one is the most important thing for me or for a lot of us is to just stop the spiral. Like when that negative thought comes in, like how do I, and you gave us those great tips to take a break, to walk around, to pull out that experiences that shows, okay, maybe I'm, I did a shithead thing, but maybe I'm not a shithead, right? And I think that that's like it, to separate the activity or the experience from the feeling, right? And from the emotion. And I think that was great. And then the last one I will share is that we never know the impact that we can have on someone else. So when you see someone and you say, wow, you have a great smile, or what a great job you did in that meeting, or wow, it was really nice to see you. The impact can be so, so positive. And I think sometimes I'm reticent to say those things, but I'm going to do a lot better of saying them and really speaking from my heart, because I think it's when we're vulnerable with other people that we can allow them to, to shine that light a little bit more, because I know it does have such a positive impact. So I'm going to stop talking. Would anybody else like to, has a question for Dr. Bonnie or a comment? I will be quiet now. Anybody? I know there are lots of comments in the chat.
Lisa, I think one of the things that you were just saying struck me, and I remember, and some fiction book I read or something, but it stuck with me, and I'll be very forthcoming. Dr. Bonnie and I are working together, and she's amazing, and it's really helped me with a lot of what we're talking about. But one of the things I think is interesting is separating yourself from the emotion. Like you just said, you can do a shithead thing, you can do an asshole thing. We're human. We're all going to do that, right? It doesn't mean you actually are an asshole. So for me, when I'm driving, which I don't do that very often anymore. But when I'm out there, I'm actually even trying in there to reframe. So instead of like, if someone cuts me off or someone does something stupid, because we live in the Boston area, let's just face it, we got some aggressive drivers. But I try to be like, instead of asshole, it's like, okay, you're driving like you're, like even that little distinction takes the edge off of it a little bit. It takes the anger out a little bit. It's like, okay, that was not a really great move, or, just trying to reframe it, because otherwise you spiral down into the negative so fast, so easily.
And that's the word, that's the great word, is the reframing of it, right? And I think that that's what all of us, and that goes back to that being aware in the moment and not just sort of on that autopilot or just like going through the motions like we so often do. Jojo, you had your hand raised.
Yes, I do have my hand raised. Thank you, Dr. Bonnie. Fabulous that you are vulnerable, beautiful, amazing.
Thank you.
It's about your brain and the neural pathways. How long does it take to create a new neural pathway where it overrides something that's been playing in your head for your entire life?
Well, we don't know. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
And I think, like I said, I think it depends on what it is. It depends on where it came from. It depends on how deeply rooted. Depends on how good you are at, changing the narrative, working within it, with the mindfulness. I didn't mention meditation, but that's something I definitely utilize all the time. So it's a depend.
Sure. Okay.
And
well, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say what happens, I think, what I can speak to for myself is it's sort of like, like grief, where it's so huge at the beginning. And then eventually you'll never forget, or you'll never not remember what that person or the situation meant to you. But the sting, it loses its sting, loses its power. And I think that's certainly what's happened for me. I still have them, but they feel weaker. They don't feel like they have as much power over me as long as I stay vigilant. And I actually visualize standing firmly on my feet. Sometimes I actually get up and stand on my feet, because I always have an image of being kind of rocked back on my heels when I'm overwhelmed. And if I'm solid on my feet and I feel strong, what is that thing where you're supposed to do the,
Superman? That's the Supergirl.
The big, But seriously, there is a posture to this. There's but it's about inhabiting and really taking in that whole idea of saying, I have control over what I'm thinking. I have control over therefore what I'm going to do.
Great. And I have something else I just want to share. Every day I write down 10 things that I'm grateful for. I begin my day, my morning, and I write down my goals every single morning. And I also take the time to, you call it meditate, but I sing the word Hu, H-U. It's the ancient word for God. And I just Hu for 20 minutes. And it just sets up the whole vibration inside of me. And that's how I catapult my day every morning. But I'll tell you, I'm getting ready to go down because I'm tired. Because I am one of those, I'm one of those early risers. So yeah, but great job. Thank you, Dr. Bonnie.
Thank you for sharing that, Jojo. And I would say, if you, Dr. Bonnie mentioned the Miracle Morning. And if you're looking for a way to start sort of a mindfulness practice, the Miracle Morning is a wonderful way to do it. Someone gave me that book years ago, and it really changed how I live my life. And yes, I'm one of those obnoxious 4:30 also people. So I know for us, I know the night owls are here. Richard, what would you like to share?
I actually feel a little bit sad because I have met through the network amazing people, intelligent, smart, creative. You have it all, and to hear anyone say I'm not good enough, or it's heartbreaking to me. It really it is. I wish you saw yourself the way I see you.
Ooh, tell us, Richard.
And that's the point of it, is we need people around us, right, Dr. Bonnie, who can, when we start to spiral into that negativity, right? And it's your posse, it's your BFFs, it's the people closest to you that can say to you, that you go to with these doubts about yourself, and maybe we should do a better job, certainly ourselves, but that someone says you can do it, or to pull out that experience and you remember, I did do that, and it was pretty great, and I am pretty great. But you're right, Dr. Bonnie and Marcy has talked about this too, is that when we are not sleeping well, eating well, caring for ourselves, we're not exercising enough, we're not doing enough for ourselves, self-care and self-love, that's when it's easier, I know for myself, to fall into these negative patterns.
If I may add one last thing, my wife has written 3 college textbooks, and she's a co-author of a 4th. She has a national reputation in what it is that she does. And what do you think she says about herself all the time? I'm not good enough. I'm not. And I say to her, look in the mirror, look at your accomplishments, take pride and joy in them. But I agree that this is one of these lingering things that may have, been caused way back, who knows when, that we just can't seem to shake off. But yeah, I just want to see yourself the way I do.
Well, she is lucky to have you, and we are lucky to have you. And that's why the power of networking, something like this, that we can all see each other and say, wow, what you do is amazing, because when we are so in it every single day, right? When we are so in our own trenches and in our own heads and in our own environment, doing the doing, it's not until we get into these sorts of environments, which over the last 2 years, as we all know, have been so few and far between, that we start to go down that rabbit hole. So that's why this is such a powerful opportunity for us to all be able to say, you are amazing. Thank you for what you're doing. What you do is great. And your wife is lucky to have you, Richard, and we are lucky to have you here. So
I'll say the perfectionist thing, I'm a perfectionist too. But here's how I have seen to modify it a little bit. I have a company motto that is aim for perfection, settle for excellence. And it kind of, lets me out of being perfect all the time.
I love it. It's great to have you here, Richard. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Thank you. Pam, you're on mute.
Talking up a storm.
Here we go. Hey, Richard brings up a really good point and a question that I want to ask you. In your professional experience, have you seen that women are harder on ourselves than men are? Or do men and women have the equal number of demons and coping mechanisms?
You're asking me, Pam. They have equal. What they do with it is different. Like what Richard just said. I think there's society, pumps up boys. It's what would they do with them differently? Men are can be incredibly insecure. They can have incredibly, very insecure egos. But what they do with it shows up so differently, I think, to women, that we don't recognize it as the same sort of thing. So yeah, I think absolutely. But women kind of have this, like, if you notice, I wrote down, perfectionism so many times. And really kind of around the whole imposter syndrome, critical self-talk. A lot of us women have very similar ones. So I think that's definitely says something about society and the way in which women are thought of and the way in which women see themselves reflected in society. So it's different, but it's definitely, men are definitely challenged by it too. They don't always, they're not always as forthcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it turns into a Corvette at 55, and we're, talking to our BFFs over a glass of wine or something like that. So on that note, that sexist comment that I just made, sorry, Richard. I'm going to thank again everyone for coming tonight. Dr. Bonnie, thank you. You were amazing. This was great. I am going to end the